Hi everybody, welcome back to Bimbo Mentality, a podcast where we sit down with somebody interesting and learn about the neat things that they do. My name is Bug, this is my co-host Emma. How are you doing today, Emma?
I'm doing fantastic. Really excited to chat with y'all today.
Oh yeah, glad to hear it. Over in the booth doing producer stuff, it's Lilith. Lilith, how are you?
I'm very excited for today for so many extremely normal reasons.
We're all gonna keep it real, normal, like we always do on Bimbo Mentality. We're not gonna get sidetracked talking about any weird sort of things that I have to explain to my parents later. Joining us on the podcast today is our guest, Maddie. Maddie is a certified machinist with over 20 years of experience, a certified welder, a blacksmith, and overall metal artist. They teach machining and prototyping at a local university and operate a smithy out of their home in rural Vermont. Welcome to the show, Maddie. How are you today?
I'm the most normal. I'm the most normal one here.
So normal.
That's what everyone says when they first encounter me, really, is, wow, that's a normal person right there.
If you think about it, like, we're the most normal podcast of all time.
Yeah. That's what everyone says. Yeah.
So we're talking about like metalworking and stuff today. I don't think that we have had a like crafting episode like this yet. We've talked about like some sort of, professional engineering and stuff, but like this is a little bit of a different direction about us. Tell us a little bit about what you do and what you make.
Oh boy. I do a lot of stuff. I've been metalworking for a really long time. I learned how to weld when I was 12. Legos weren't good enough. So I was visiting an uncle out in Minnesota, and I was like, teach me how to do this.
So you were rocking the dope welding mask and like
giant
shit like that when you
coat.
were 12?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I went home that summer. I mowed lawns so I could buy an angle grinder so I could cut material. My great uncle had just passed. My great uncle, so he was very old. And he left me a 1954 Chicago Welding Company welder, which is in a wooden box that like ran on 110 AC power, could stick weld with it. And that summer I was cutting and welding and already starting making sculpture, and I've just been doing it ever since. My dad wisely, at the end of my high school career, was like, you're not going to college. We need to find you a trade school. And I went to trade school for machining. And I did that for a very, very long time while doing art on the side. I put my partner through grad school, and they were like, hey, you put me through grad school. Why don't you do something that you love now? And then I got into art full time. And I did that for close to a decade, making high-end lighting and furniture and things like that. And then now I teach machining and prototyping at a university, just kind of passing things on, and then blacksmithing on the side. So yeah, my entire life, my whole day, and when I get home is metal all the time. Just metal. That's what I do.
Just a little side of blacksmithing.
Yeah. I mean, and I do, it's everything. Like I've done brass work, copper work, aluminum, whatever, jewelry.
But you've really like lived, like eat, sleeped, and breathed metal like your whole life. Yeah. Holy shit.
It's all I do. I don't it's just it's a wonderful medium. It's incredibly forgiving. It's I tried, I do woodworking and things like that too, but it's just, there's nothing like it. When you can take something just sort of raw and out of the ground and then make something out of it. It's pretty neat. Yeah. I mean, we even for our 10-year wedding anniversary, we went to Japan last summer, and of course I met up with a blacksmith there, and he was a master swordsmith, and I did some blacksmithing while I was in Japan.
Did you make a sword?
I made a very small knife. I didn't have enough time. He does have something where you can stay with him for like 3 months and like live with him and make a sword, and I'm like,
oh my god,
maybe.
That's so cool.
When I retire, who knows? But yeah,
that's like out of a movie. That's so badass. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It is out of like seriously. There would be a montage of that.
I mean, swords are great, but it's all grinding,
Uh-huh.
and that's less exciting than the
Oh,
forging
okay.
stuff. Yeah.
So swords are actually not that cool to make. Is that what
Well,
they're
no,
not actually
don't
that
get me
fun to
wrong.
make?
Swords are cool to make. Yeah, it depends. It depends on what you enjoy doing about the process. Back in the day, blacksmiths were just the hammer on the anvil, right? Somebody would make your would make your steel for you out of ferritic sand or whatever else, ore, depending where you are in the world. If you're in Japan, it's made of sand. If you're in England, they find it out of the ground. And then the blacksmith would make the tool or whatever else, and then they would hand it off to the grinder, and they would be people who just ground things and made them whatever, and then they'd hand it to the polisher who would polish it, and they'd hand it to the etchant who would do all the etching and whatever on it, and then they'd hand it to somebody who'd put the handle on the sword, and they'd hand it to the leather worker who would wrap the handle and everything else. It was all individual jobs, and now because of where we are in modern society, right, nobody wants to be like, hey, yeah, I'm the dude who runs the grindstone all day. Nobody wants that. So it's all been kind of condensed down into the blacksmith does everything now.
That kind of sounds like a good opportunity for like good old fashioned unionization, though.
I would love if I had somebody that lived downstairs in my shop that just ran the belt grinder all day and did all that for me, and I could just be like, here, you make this pretty. I did my work. See you later. But no.
Right. Wow.
It doesn't sound so bad, to be honest. As somebody who works in a client facing field.
It's true. Yeah. I have this book, this great armoring book that talks about armor and arms and stuff in the 15th century and how it was made. And the average life of someone who ran a grindstone from the time they got hired to when they died was 3 years. Because of just how bad it was for your lungs and how hard it was on your body. And they usually got hired around 13 to 15 years old. So it was just like, hey, Billy, you need a job? You want to die?
Usually this is the part of the podcast where I would double down, but no, that does sound like it sucks.
Wait,
well, now you can wear a respirator now, but
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so it's fine.
Okay, so it was like particulate matter. It wasn't like accidents on the job, or was it that?
Well, that too, yeah.
That probably did also happen.
It was mostly your lungs would get all messed up really bad. I have this wonderful photo of these French bladesmiths that would just do the grind work, and they would lay on their bellies, and the grindstone is in front of them. So they don't have to stand in front of something all day. They can just lay and have their arms out so they rest. But they're wet stones, so they're very, very cold to run. So they all have these little scruffy dogs that are asleep on their backs to keep them warm. And there's like 10 guys in a row laying there with their hands on the grindstone with dogs asleep on their backs. And I am Quebecois, and my little fluffy dog would love to do that. They would be his favorite job on earth. So, yeah. It could be all right, I guess.
Oh my god, I think I'm just like blown away that I mean, look, my entire I think like exposure to blacksmithing is like the Witcher video games or like Baldur's Gate. So like I didn't know that there were like multiple people, not just like one person who does it all.
Yeah, I thought I just went up to them and I pressed a couple times and
they take a fully made sword and they hit it like 3 times and there's more titanite in it now.
Yeah,
and then
you just my coin and then I get to upgrade my sword.
Yeah, totally. That's how it is. Yeah, no.
And I sell them back 3 apples, and that's how it works. Yeah,
yeah.
How you make a sword is you put a stick in the bottom middle. And then 2
two ingots on top
or diamond above it, and that's how a sword is made.
Boom.
You've already got it figured out. All right, good short podcast. We're done.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't even really need.
Yeah.
Welcome to Bimbo Mentality, a podcast where I already know about this shit.
Pound sand, loser. Get out of here. If you follow me on Bluesky, you'll know how upset that video game blacksmithing makes me.
Oh yeah,
it is so wrong. in like it'd be like, oh, here's a knitting mini game where you take a fully formed sweater and you jab needles into it and it makes a better sweater. It's so ridiculous. I was playing like Ghost of Yotei recently. Not only do they have a Western blacksmithing setup in a Japanese game, which makes no sense at all, they're like putting the hot iron in that's already the correct shape, taking it out with no way to hold it. They're just hanging on to that hot thing and then just kind of hitting it. And then like it just it drove me nuts.
Is that
but that's just me. Very, very picky immersion breaking stuff. Yeah.
Is that the worst example of video game blacksmithing you've experienced?
Oh my gosh. I was just watching some gameplay from Kingdom Come Deliverance, which brags about how good its blacksmithing is. And it is a dog water. It is not good. They're just constantly quenching things. The more you quench something over and over again, the more stress you add into it. And it's just going to break. It's just going to fall apart. So you don't want to be doing that all the time. And we can talk about the science of that a little bit if you want. Mm-hmm. But I'd say that was a pretty bad one that I've seen recently. I think the worst one though was the new God of War game. I know they're dwarves.
A video game I've actually heard of.
I know they're dwarves. I know that they're magic and whatever, but they take a hot sword and put it on the grindstone while it's hot, which you don't do that. That's not. Mm-hmm. Yeah, hot filing and hot rasping are a thing. You can hot file something, but you don't put something hot on your stone that usually is wet, because it will instantly evaporate whatever water's there, and you blow up your very expensive whetstone. Yeah, you don't want to do that. So yeah,
that sounds bad.
That's my rant. I'll get off my soapbox.
At some point during the podcast, and I'm just gonna take this moment right here to talk about how my kind of personal attachment to the thing that you that you've come here to talk about. You made the coolest object in my home.
Aw, thank you.
So
tell us all about this.
Let me go grab it. I'll be right back.
Sure. I'm excited to improvise a description of this.
It comes out of a glowing box. Look at that.
I was like, wait, what is this glowing box?
That was all Lilith. Lilith did that. Lilith did the box. I made the box, but Lilith made it glow.
First of all, for the audience at home, we should mention that this box is absolutely glowing. And
it opens like a Zelda treasure chest. It's great.
It's either the Zelda treasure chest or it's like the suitcase in Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
Yeah. Lilith, explain for our listeners what you're holding right now.
I am holding a fucking huge hammer. Like, not a hammer that you would use to drive in nails. A hammer you would use to, like, break a wooden barricade or perhaps a skull.
This is a battle hammer that I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's a war hammer.
That's a war hammer. Yeah.
It's got spikes in 3 different directions. It's completely fucking cool, and it feels so good to hold. This is... I'm not kidding. This is the coolest thing in my home.
That makes me so happy to hear. Thank you.
I love that.
This is a side of Lilith that I, of course, know very well, and I think we all know very well, but I don't know if the listeners on Bimbo Mentality have been enlightened to this side of Lilith yet. So, I just want it, like, on record, if you're listening to this at home, that the fact that producer Lilith owns a Warhammer is only surprising insofar as it's a really, really cool Warhammer. Yeah. But if there's anybody in my life, if you told me one person in my life owns a Warhammer, I would first try, I would have guessed right. So.
100%. I completely agree. If Lilith changed her Bluesky name to Lilith Hammers You, I'd also it'd be appropriate. So
yeah.
Yeah.
The story behind this is that I think one day I was just posting about how I was having a fucking rough day on Bluesky, and Maddie just reached out it was just like, hey, do you want something cool? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so we started swapping ideas back and forth. And then you made this and sent it to me.
So how much, Maddie, tell us how much, like, information were you given about this? Like, how much of this is, like, it was sort of the commission, and how much of this was just, like, you came up with it?
Artistic flourish. Yeah.
Yeah, I got well, I like to do like inspiration images is what we call it in the art business. Is I'm not going to make you the thing that you're sending me a picture of. I'm going to make you something that you've seen in the world that I'm going to take pieces from. So Liv sent me a bunch of like renderings and stuff like that of
There was some stuff from like video games, some like Warhammer stuff. Like it was, and by Warhammer I mean like 40K stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's the board game, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was pulling from like more historical things, and I really like to blend historical look with more modern kind of twists to it. I really hate making replicas because everyone then is like, oh, well, this little detail's wrong, blah blah blah, and so I don't do replicas.
Yeah, it sounds like that would be really annoying.
It's frustrating.
Like that just sounds like a thing you don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't know how cosplayers do it, honestly. Especially like
Foam.
in those fandoms, because they do it with foam, but like to get all the individual details right, because like whatever Warhammer Lover 69 is going to be at that convention and is going to be like, hey, you got the color slightly wrong on this, and therefore you're a failure. And as an artist, I don't like hearing that.
Yeah, I think there's something more. It's more of a like conversation in the sense of not like a talking conversation, but like it's a connection between like the person who's commissioning it and the artist yourself, and like you're taking something that, like you said, inspiration, but it's wholly new, even though it's informed by other things. Like there's something I feel like that's more human in that than just like rote, like copying. So I love that. Yeah.
I you got to put yourself in there. I think that's important. And then like once I kind of did some pencil sketches, I'm like, it's going to look approximately like this. And then I think I made the head of it first, and I was like, all right, I got to just figure out a handle for this. And then I had a lot of extra time in my forge because I was working on another really large piece. So I had a lot of time to wait while that was heating. So while the other thing was heating up, I was working on the stuff for Lilith. So I had lots of free time. So I just had lots of detail time to just sit there and play around with it and have fun with it, which was great.
It is a completely beautiful piece. I will we'll include some pictures with like wherever, Instagram or whatever of the punishing angel.
Yes. I love naming things.
Punishing angel.
Oh my god, that's so good.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Uh-huh.
I love naming things.
Who named it?
I did.
That was
yeah.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
Amazing. I would like to pause and backtrack very briefly and mention just how cool the phrase, like, I was hanging out in my forge is.
Yeah.
Like, it just rules that you have a forge. And there's a question that I have to ask. And Bimbo Mentality is, of course, a family-friendly podcast. We've never sort of had kind of inappropriate tangents before. But
Never.
I have to...
It's not going to happen
I
this time
have
either.
to ask this question. It's essential that I ask this. Have you ever fucked anybody in the forge?
Oh, no.
Bug!
You cut out. You said, have you ever it cut out?
Okay, but... I mean, I heard enough. I
didn't hear anything. It just completely cut out for me.
Okay. It did for me too. It did for me too. I couldn't tell if that was like intentional.
How is it that I'm the only one who heard this? Okay. So Bug said, "Have you ever fucked someone in the forge?"
I'm trying. There's only one person I would.
And if that's
it's pretty remote. I mean, you know what? I'm trying to think. I know we have in the shop, which is different from the forge. But no, I don't think we have in the forge yet. No.
Oh,
God. To be fair, it is not like it's gritty in there. And it's freezing right now. It's like -10 in there right now.
Oh my God.
You don't want to sit on the anvil when it's that cold. You will get stuck.
No.
No. So,
oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah, it sounds unpleasant.
But if you want to rent it out for the weekend and you want to have a great time in there, we can talk after the podcast. That's fine. Just don't get burned.
Assume sitting trying to have sex on that anvil in winter would go much like that dog in Joe Dirt.
Yes,
I love that that's your point of reference.
I mean, really, it's an evocative point. You can see it. You can see it happening. Yeah.
Movie that I have seen, by the way.
But your personal filmography is such that like your references are all over the place, and I love it.
Yeah, it's good. It's great. It's great. It's great. No, I that film is not near and dear to me, but way too close to home. Because when my facial hair does grow in, it does grow in just like Joe Dirt's. It's
my God.
Yeah.
It's awful. Grows in all white trash like that. Sorry, that's what we got.
When I was a kid, I think I was just like the right age that was just always on Comedy Central. And so I've seen that movie like dozens of times. It's yeah.
For a movie that like no one really remembers fondly, everybody sure has seen it a lot.
That like being on Comedy Central is like, I'm a little bit older. It's like when TNT would play Tremors like every Saturday or something.
Oh my God, yes.
Like it would always be on, and I would watch it to the end because it's a great movie.
Tremors is awesome. Way better than Joe Dirt.
Way better.
Tremors, have not seen it.
We can keep talking about hammers if you want.
I would love to talk about hammers.
I have one right here.
Off of this tangent.
Oh, fuck, yes.
This is my daily driver.
Oh, for the listener at home, Maddie is holding another big hammer.
This is known as a French hammer, French pattern, or a lock breaking or lock making hammer. The history behind that is kind of fun. These hammers, this heavy, so I'll describe for the listener what I'm holding here. This is a blacksmithing hammer, so it's got a nice heavy handle. This is about 1.5 pounds, so this is not the heaviest one in the world. It's for more detail work. But I use this one a lot because I make a lot of small things as well. It's got a flat square face, which is different than most blacksmithing hammers. They sort of have a round face. And then on the back, you guys are going to love this. This section of the hammer here that comes to a taper is called the peen. So, yeah, I know, right?
You're correct.
We can talk about that. Yeah. We talk a lot about peens. This is a cross peen hammer. You can get vertical peen hammers. You can get diagonal peen hammers. You can get ball peen hammers.
I was going to say, I've heard the term ball peen, so that's what that means. Okay, I never knew what that meant.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the taper on the end. And there's, unlike a standard blacksmithing hammer, which usually comes to a kind of like 245s to this taper, this one has sort of a shelf on the top. And that's for access, so you can make those large step downs when you're making shouldered locks and things like that. And it's also really good if you like picture a lock with a shackle, it can knock on top of that and just knock the shackle right out of the lock very easily and break that lock. So it has this name, lock making or lock breaking. But this is the basics of all this work. And you need these two things to do your work. Your face right here is for flattening. That's what that does. You can just picture that.
I do imagine that would flatten a face.
Yeah, pretty easily. And the peen, right, is for moving things, right?
That could also probably flatten a peen.
Yeah, probably pretty good, right? And yeah, as you said, like the ball peen, right? That is a type of peen. But when it hits something, instead of just crushing, right, it has this wedge shape. So when it hits it, it spreads it out like this. So you can move material to the left or to the right, or if it's a ball, it spreads it out evenly, right? So this is the basics. This is the basics of blacksmithing. Is just the hammer that has the face and the peen, and that's all you need to do to get going. That's it. That's all you got.
And you said this is your daily driver, so this is like the Camry or the like Honda Civic of
This is it.
hammers.
Well,
Okay.
of my smithy. Most blacksmiths don't use the French pattern
Mm.
hammer. It's a little bit more. I don't want to say difficult because I don't want to say skill issue to my fellow blacksmiths. But the face is a little closer to the handle,
No,
so
please
you need to
do.
be really
I want to
precise
get
with
a.
your strokes. Um, it's a skill issue if these sharp corners. If you're leaving that pattern in your material, it means you have bad hammer control. This teaches you very good hammer control very, very fast. It's not about how strong you are. It's about how you can control this as it's moving. I have another one of these in my shop that is 3.5 pounds, and that's for moving stuff a lot. And that doesn't seem like a lot of weight if you just say it. Swing this for 2 hours and then tell me
Yeah.
how much 3.5 pounds feels to your arm. It's all about endurance and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it's like if you hold like a 1 pound weight out with your arms stretched out, like
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy how quickly you can't hold them up anymore after a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most blacksmiths, if you look up blacksmithing hammer, you'll see a German style blacksmithing hammer or an English style, which is a round face, and then the peen just comes to a point on the end. And it's just very, very simple, but that's all you need to make. I know I see Bug smiling at every time I say peen because
I'm sorry.
it's all right. It's all right because I listened to that episode with Quinny, and I am also a machinist,
Yeah.
and I teach machining. And all day. You know what I did today? All day,
Say.
I got quotes on CNC machines all day long today,
Yeah.
because we're buying
I
some
was
for the
gonna
school I work
say.
at.
I was
So
gonna say
Yeah.
this is the most I've felt like a middle schooler since CNC.
That's so cool.
We have fun
That's
here.
awesome.
Yeah. I as we all I think I mentioned I know I mentioned this to Maddie, and I may have mentioned this to my bimbos, but I actually took a blacksmithing class like a month and a half ago, something like that. And I was of course chatting your ear off about it, showing you the cool little things I made. And I am like so ever since then, like I haven't been able to get back to the forge where I did that for their like open forge nights, just because the scheduling hasn't worked out. But I'm so hungry to do it again. It's so fucking fun. It's you get a piece of metal hot and then you hit it with a hammer and it moves in a way that but until you do it, it doesn't even seem like metal can do that. And it's so fucking cool.
I did have someone in the forge a while ago who he's a seamster, so like works in this much softer world, and came out to make a knife one night, and I was explaining just the ins and outs of it, and he goes, "What do you mean move the metal?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's like what all of this is about," and just he couldn't rotate the apple in his brain to like see that like the metal does move at a certain point. 400 degrees actually is when steel starts to move, but not
That's
quite
really hot.
enough. That's when it gets a lot hotter than that. So that's the point when it starts to turn to something called austenite. Austenite is the sort of normalized steel. We're talking steel, not iron or anything else. There's lots of different materials that have lots of different temperatures to work, but that's when it starts. That's like your low kind of cherry. Traditional blacksmithing talk about the colors of the material rather than the temperature. You have dark and light cherry, and then your oranges, dark and light, then your yellows, and then white, and then finally at the end of your white spectrum it starts burning. Which is not good. You don't want that. Burning temperature is like past like 1500 degrees or so.
Whoa.
Yeah, it gets very, very hot. But austenite is like the soft stage of the material. Do any of you have aphantasia? I'm sorry if our listeners have aphantasia, because I'm about to describe something that you need to use picturing in your brain for. No? You picture things in your mind? Great. Picture a cube, please. And at each one of those corners of that cube is a sphere. All right?
Although I really love when our guests sort of give us little tasks. I'm picturing the cube so good.
This is it. I'm teaching you all about how metal works right now. Specifically how we're making knives. So that cube with the
Which
little
is
spheres.
sort of a very little sword, as I learned
Yeah,
earlier in the
yeah,
podcast.
yeah. They're little. They're cute. Knives are great. They're wonderful. Um,
A
yeah.
knife was
Uh,
just held up on the podcast.
um. Anyway, each one of the little spheres at the corner of that cube is iron, right? It's ferrous. That is whatever is in your material. When it is in the austenite phase, that is what the lattice looks like. It looks like a cube. It is like tons of cubes all stacked up into a giant grid, but it is a cube, right? As you are working on that material with your hammer, you're smashing that cube and it's making it all different shapes, right? And then when you heat it up slowly and let it cool slowly and heat it slowly and let it cool slowly, it goes back to that cube shape, which is a nice, stable shape. There's no stress in it. Which is why I got mad at the video games all the time, because every time you quench it, it holds that cube shape or distorts that cube shape. And if you keep doing that without normalizing it, which is cycling it up to a nice high heat and lowering it back down, you're just going to continue to compound stress, and that cube eventually is going to break, which you don't want. And you'll have fractures in your steel. When you go to hardened steel, you make something called martensite. Martensite is that cube, right? We still have our cube that through heat has expanded. And then now picture a sphere that was bigger than your original cube. I'm asking you to do two things here. This is very difficult. That sphere next to it,
up to 8 things.
Okay, great, good. All right, cool. That means we can get into aluminum later. No, I don't want to. That sphere is carbon. Have you ever heard the term high carbon steel?
No, I have not.
No. Have you never bought a knife for like your kitchen? This is high carbon steel or anything like that? Never.
Well, I
Never?
do.
All right.
I've read.
Great, fantastic.
I've bought
good.
I've bought a knife before, but I don't read the packaging.
Okay. All right.
Same.
So steel comes in low, medium, and high carbon, and it ranges from ductility, which means it's easy to move and can take impacts, to it's very, very hard, but is very, very brittle, which is the higher carbon stuff, right? High carbon actually means like between 0.5% and 1.5% carbon in the total makeup of the steel. So it's actually very little carbon. But what happens is when you heat up that cube and it gets bigger, that sphere, which is a single piece of carbon, which carbon is what diamonds are made of, that's hard stuff, goes inside that cube. And then when you quench it really quickly, that cube comes down and hangs on to that piece of carbon. It is now a sort of like a needle shape as it's hanging onto that sphere. And that's a martensitic steel. That is the hard steel. So when you want a knife that can hold an edge or something like that, you need to heat it to the correct temperature, which is your critical temperature, get that lattice big enough, allow carbon to get in there, which is usually the oil that you quench into it, and the carbon that's already naturally in the alloy that you're using, and then quench it really quickly so you can hang on to that carbon. And then that's it. That's blacksmithing. You need to be able to work your material to get to that point, heat it up, quench it very quickly, and then you do something called tempering afterwards, because after it's first quenched, it's so hard that it's brittle. I have quenched knives and accidentally dropped them on the ground and they shatter. Because they can become that hard. You actually need to temper them back by getting them to about 400 degrees for about an hour per inch of thickness of material. And then it allows that cube to kind of get a little bit more cube shaped, so it's not so stressed. So you can use it as a knife and cut through things and not have it explode in your hands, which is handy.
So what I'm learning is blacksmithing is a great crash course into when you're in high school chemistry and you learn about phases of matter.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm so teachy, but I am a teacher. That is my job.
No, I love it. I love it.
Podcast is.
That's what the podcast
Exactly.
is. That's what the podcast is.
I was something of an Austenite myself.
Yeah.
I lived in Austin.
Oh, there you go.
I was making a bad joke.
No, it's good.
Sorry.
It's good. You're good.
I'm sure it's not spelled the same way.
I don't know who named them. I'm sure I could find the Wikipedia on that, but they're very hard to remember, those two phases, austenitic and martensitic. They do not roll off the tongue. They stick. Yeah, it's the opposite of Teflon, whatever that is. Just does not slide easily.
I have an idea for how they can make blacksmithing in video games a little bit more realistic. They should add in a mechanic where you can go into where your blacksmith is like making your weaponry, and you can go, "Hey, what you doing?" And then they drop an untempered knife, and it shatters. And if you do that enough, you can't go to that blacksmith anymore.
That would be really good. I would like that a lot. I think that, like, I don't know. Again, video games just taking like full-on finished swords and then hitting them with hammers. I'm just like, what are we doing here?
We need to get you a consultant gig with CD Projekt Red.
It'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put your sword back in the microwave for a little bit, and then you can just
you just milk it a little bit.
Right?
It's
That's
fine.
how it works.
It's totally
You can,
fine.
like add in a little bit more.
Yeah.
No, it is cool though, because like it was a very, that explanation was obviously very, very technical, and like talked a lot into the sort of the scientific process by which this works, but it also like seems like one of those things that kind of, once you understand how it works, you can really like, it's not to say it's like straightforward, but it's predictable. Does that seem accurate?
Yes. If you control your variables, you can get predictable results, which is great. People starting out making knives, their biggest issue is overwork. They are trying to do too much to something at once without letting things rest or come back to a stress-free position or something like that. And once you get that out of your system and you're like, oh, I need to have patience while I do this. Yeah, you can really predict what things are going to do. That with one huge exception, kitchen knives. It's a big reason I don't touch kitchen knives. They are so thin that they just sometimes fail. There is not enough of a structure inside of them to survive becoming that brittle for that long. I've got a lot of friends who that's their meal ticket is making very, very high-end kitchen knives, and they're like, yeah, I made like 30 and 6 of them failed. And imagine spending 6 hours or something, like forming out a piece of material into something, and then grinding it all to shape, and then tempering it down, and then hardening it, and then the very, very last step, which is that quench, and it fails on you. Heartbreaking. It sucks. But if you that's if you're doing it traditionally without power equipment, and doing it in your forge, heating and tempering in your forge. Now there's electric ovens that you can just throw your knives in, and they automatically get to the correct temperature, and then automatically drop down, and then tell you to quench, and then you quench in this, very formulated oil that lowers the heat at a very specific rate, and you're using higher end steels and things like that. It depends on how towards the side of manufacturing you want to get. Versus the side of sort of, I don't want to say that they're not artisans, but the more artisan side is to just like everything is, hand done and right there,
There's something like when I go like on the weekends, I'll go to like a little farmer's market, right? And there's folks that make like handmade jewelry, right? And it's not like it's the nicest materials, but like knowing that someone like made that personally and you met them, and like there's something into it that like is that human connection, that I feel like is important, or at least I
made with
appreciate
that
it.
special ingredient love.
Exactly.
It's very important.
Actually, like this is maybe a dumb segue, but like one thing I had never, that's true, I didn't know anything about blacksmithing, so it's not that surprising. But one thing you mentioned at the very beginning that like stuck out to me, and so one thing I am really into is like wine, and I love like different varietals of wine, and like different regions are completely beholden to like what the weather was like that year, and like what the soil is like in the ground. And I had never considered, like, as blacksmithing arose like around the world, I think I just assumed everyone did the same thing with the same materials.
No.
And that blew me away when you said that like it's completely different in like Japan versus like in Europe. And
yeah,
I feel like that adds a whole different component of like the story or history of something.
If you want to like blow your mind and destroy like your preconceived notions of blacksmithing, look up traditional African blacksmithing. It is fantastic. The shapes and the things that they make are just not like anywhere else in the world. Even the tongs that they use they don't even look like tongs. It's just like two sticks in a ring, and they just use this like friction principle to hold things together while they're holding onto their material, and they can hold any size with these two sticks in this single ring. It's very, very hard to describe, but if you look up African blacksmithing, there's some very interesting stuff there to see. But yeah,
That's so cool.
it goes down to like the type of steel that you have. Like in Japan, they have very, very poor steel, very poor quality steel, because they have to extract it from sand. They don't have mines. So they have to like work it and fold it thousands of times to build up the correct amount of carbon to make something that can actually work. That's why you hear about the swords that have been folded thousands of times that are like legendary, because they are legendary. They don't have that kind of steel. Whereas in England, you had like, King Henry's entire army all had their own sword because they have so much iron that they're just like, whatever, screw it. And it's really like, pig iron and everything else, but they have just so much of it that not a big deal. Just use it all the time. Fuel to use to make things. Out here in America, we use pretty much everything. A lot of bituminous coal, which comes from like, our coal mines around here. But same in England, they have coal mines to dig for coal. Not in Japan. They don't have that. So they use charcoal. They use wood, specifically pine charcoal, which burns very hot but very quickly. You need a much higher volume of it, but you can do hotter work and work on things a little bit faster. So it depends on what kind of rig you want to run. You can kind of have your setup here at my smithy. I have propane in two of my forges, and I have a solid fuel forge that can run bituminous coal, and I also have a charcoal retort where I make my own hardwood and softwood charcoal for forging. So depending on what I'm making, I will switch styles of heat, because one of them is sort of the propane is for like heating everything all at once, and then when you run coal or charcoal, you can heat specific spots. Like when I was making Lilith's hammer, it's huge, it's very heavy, and you don't want to heat that thing all at once because it would take forever, right? And it would waste a lot of fuel. So if I was just wanted to work on that spike that's on the very end of it, I would just put that in the charcoal, get that hot, take it out and work on it, while the rest of the piece is relatively cool. And then just kind of spot work wherever I needed to work. So you just kind of have to like pick and choose. But yeah, the culture and the tradition is very different wherever you go in the world. It is like, yeah, it's like any other artisanal thing, right? Wine, cheese, whatever. People have figured it out somehow everywhere. It's kind of cool.
There's something so beautiful about that. Like, I was thinking, I think I was high on the weekend when I thought about this, but I was like, it's like one of those unifying things is that going back millennia in every culture on Earth, people have been like, what thing from nature can we use to get kind of fucked up? Like,
yeah,
it was like monks, and like we've been using it like roots out of the ground and fermenting things. Like I love
the Nords
humans...
with their reindeer piss. Yeah, you know about that.
How can we make cool trinkets, tasty treats, and get high? Those are the unifying principles of all of humanity.
That's all you need.
And how beautiful they all are, right?
Yeah.
There is. I love that. I love people. That's awesome.
And how can we have weird sex? Those are the four things that have united the big four that have united all of humanity throughout our entire history.
And those other three really inform that last one. I'll just say
That's
that.
True. That's true.
When I first started showing my work on Twitter forever ago, someone reached out to me and they were like, hey, I have a commission for you. And I was like, sure, yeah, what are you looking for? And they're like, I'm really into knife play. Can you make me some knives that are dull so we can use them for insertion? And I was like, oh, all right, I don't know.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to be responsible for someone losing that in somewhere. It doesn't have a flared base. This is probably not a great idea.
Oh my god.
And
so
they were
not
like,
do it then?
Well, they were gung ho, and I would like sent them drawings and a quote, and then they ghosted me. So whatever. But that was like, hey, welcome to Twitter. This is what we're into.
That
But that was like, that was pre Elon. That was a long. As soon as Elon bought that place, I left. So, yeah, that was a while ago.
Bimbo Mentality is an anti-Elon Musk podcast.
Good, great,
Fuck yes,
wonderful.
it is. Yeah, right. So that dovetails into something that I kind of wanted to ask you about. Like, obviously, we've gotten a lot of information about smithing, the process,
Sure,
and everything like that. But what would you want to say to someone like who wants to get into the process of like commissioning knives from smiths and finds that to be a little bit of a kind of intimidating thing? Because I like, I can speak for myself. Like, that was sort of you made a incredibly generous offer to me, which I will forever be thankful for. But I have always been like super interested in knives and everything like that, and always a little bit sheepish about wanting to like approach a smith about like, here's X, Y, and Z cool thing
Gotcha.
that I would want to do. And I think more than anything, I think it'd be really cool to have that information out there so that people can partake in this really like cool thing.
All right. Let's do some do's and don'ts. Do be familiar with your blacksmith's catalog of work and what they are capable of doing. Asking them to do something that is like below the quality of work they do is usually fine, but asking them to do something insanely above it is like what you it's like going to a tattoo artist that like only does blackout tattoos, and they're like, I want fine line. And it's like, well, actually, no, that's not what I do here. So like, just be respectful in that space. Like, inspiration is great. Come to a blacksmith with inspiration images, or say, I like this style. Knowing, especially knives, like, do you want a clip point? Do you want, what kind of knife you are looking for with its features? Just being versed in that vernacular is really good. That's a really quick Google search to figure that out, the kind of shape that you want. Don't send me links to Temu or Alibaba and say, I would like this. That's
Jesus
woof.
Christ.
Also, don't ask for the same price as Temu or Alibaba. There's a reason those prices are low, and it's called slavery. And I'm not here to do that.
Bimbo Mentality is an anti-slavery podcast.
Good.
I'm glad.
So.
I'm glad that was said out loud.
Put that in the paper.
Yeah. So
Bimbo Mentality is
basically
also an anti-Temu podcast, to be clear.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Generally.
Me too. Yeah. And be expected to pay, right? If you come with a budget in mind, way better. If you say, I only got $150, I'm like, all right, here's what a $150 knife is going to look like. If you come and you say, I want this exact knife, and I say that's going to be like $950, you got to be like, okay. The haggling is you don't do that to anyone else. You don't go to the butcher and say, no, I'm not paying that right now. You don't go to anyone else and say, I'm not paying that. But unfortunately, I think that the proliferation of cheap product, you can go to wherever, your sportsman store or Walmart or whatever, and get a knife that looks like the coolest thing every mall ninja would ever want for really cheap. But there's a reason it's cheap. I think that's the basics. Every blacksmith loves what they do, especially ones who have their commissions open. So if you just want to come in and say, hey, this is, can you make this? They love to puzzle through it. It's awesome. So don't be shy. Seriously. A lot of good guys out there that, and gals too, that, everybody's into the game. But they all love to just hear from people. So don't be shy.
I have made this appeal when we've had some like artists and musicians on before, but I'll make it here in this case too, that like being willing to pay for art and things that are special to you is it is about respecting the artist and the artist's talents and effort, but it is also about respecting yourself and understanding that if this is something that you want and you want it high quality, like and you don't just want to have things in your home that were like mass produced and sold at a Walmart, that paying for the quality is a sign of respect to yourself.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
I have to assume that the like truly the worst DM slide you can get is the "can you make me a kitchen knife?" It's kind of like the like do you do like post feat of the of the blacksmithing world.
Well, it depends. Like, I've got
Right.
people, again, people in my life that just make kitchen knives. That's it. But yeah, you just got to look at the work. Like, my stuff is a little bit more robust, a little bit heavier duty.
Yeah.
But knives are great. I love them. But they're not my favorite thing to make because it's a lot of grinding. It's a lot of polishing. Here, I'm holding up a knife again that has a nice mirrored surface here that even if we get, you can even see the webcam in there. So this takes a long time to get like this, right?
Yeah.
And that isn't always what I want to be doing with my time. Recently I had this Gen X mom reach out, and she said, I've got a transmask son, and he really wants to get into blacksmithing, and it's his birthday coming up. Can you make him a hammer? What kind of hammer do you use? Why do you use it?
Awesome.
And I said, yeah, totally. Let's do this. And she was like, how much? And I was like, this is how much it's going to cost if you were to buy this hammer, from where, a reputable source. And this is how much it would cost me to make. It's a little bit more, but I'll put more into it. And she was like, let's go for it. So I got to make a hammer for a smith starting out, which was great. And those are the commissions that just like, I love. It was, because you feel like you're like giving someone something that they're not just going to like put on a shelf, they're going to use. That's the cool part about being a blacksmith, is everything you make is usually very practical as well. You can be as artistic as you want, but at the end of the day, the hammer's going to do the work, the knife's going to do the work, that kind of thing. So people get to appreciate it in their everyday lives.
Well, the implication is that hammer needs to be put to use.
Hey, I hope the implication is not that it hasn't been put to use, because
I was gonna say
it's this hammer has it's gotten some mileage. In fact, here's a fun little story. I will leave the names out of this one.
I know this story.
Here we go.
Yeah. So I had the hammer. A couple of my girlfriends were over, and some stuff happened, and I had to send Maddie some messages. Hey, how safe is it to put this hammer in your mouth? What are the materials that are used in this hammer, and are they safe to put in your mouth? And we kind of had a conversation, and that where we essentially landed on was probably not great to do a lot, but it won't kill you, more or less.
It's got a wax and small amount of graphite kind of coating and things like that. Yeah, organic materials, but yeah.
Well, you have to tell us if the hammer ended up in a mouth.
Oh, it was already in a mouth when I sent those
too late.
messages.
It was way too late. It was way too late.
Yeah. Is that my girlfriend had put it in her mouth?
Oh my god.
On that note, we're coming up on the hour mark. Let's move into the outro and talk a little about what we've learned. Emma, what have you learned today?
I learned that video games are terrible at blacksmithing, and I never knew that. And I also learned that some video games even more egregiously brag about being good at it and are bad at it, which is like, it seems worse than just like never, committing to that. And I also learned that, like, much like many artisan things, like the human component of where something was created and all the context that goes into it is like lives in that piece, and that is really cool.
I learned that the peen comes in all different shapes and sizes, and that different shaped and sized peens are really good for different things.
Oh my god.
You can also get a hammer with peens on both sides if you want.
A double piece.
I learned that there
Double
are
peen, yeah.
dual-sided peens out in the world.
There are, yeah.
I have learned that it's apparently really, really hard to make kitchen knives, and I should respect my kitchen knives a lot more than I do. And I have also learned that if you put a lot of really kind of hone your craft and learn about your craft and really kind of get patient with it and care about and respect what you do, that you can sort of slide into girls' DMs and go, "Hey, I'm sorry you had a bad day. Do you want me to make you a warhammer?" And I have never meant this enough that is bimbo mentality, baby.
The ultimate DM slide, for sure.
Yeah. It was
It's a
the
power
coolest thing that's
move,
ever
yeah.
fucking happened to me. Yeah.
Listen, I don't know how else to make friends. I am like a magpie. I just drop things off to people. I'm like, here you go. You'll hang out. And that's it. That's what I do. And then I get podcast invites.
I mean, that's a great thing to be. Corvids are awesome. So,
yeah, they're wonderful. Wonderful little animals.
Maddie, having heard about what we've learned today, do you feel like you've successfully thought like a bimbo enough to teach us about metalworking and blacksmithing?
Oh boy, I think so. Yeah. I think I've been called a thembo quite a bit. So I think I was already halfway there. But
everybody who is invited onto bimbo mentality has that bimbo gene in them somewhere. Much like,
I wonder if it's different wherever you are in the world. However, it was developed, like artisanally, it's just slightly different.
As we've said, I think on this podcast before, this podcast is very much meant to be, a double-sided outreach. So I think as much as we have learned about
double peen
what you exactly a little peen that as much as you have taught us about blacksmithing and metalworking, we hope that we have taught you about bimbo mentality.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Do you have anything you want to plug for us before we go?
Yeah, get at me at theuglymachine.bsky.social. That's where I crash out often and post blacksmithing things all the time. That's the two things that Bluesky is for. And I'm great at both of them. Yeah, that's it. I guess that's it. I don't really have anything else anywhere else going on right now. I'm pretty low key.
Check out Maddie's art and maybe commission something if you want.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for us this week on Bimbo Mentality. Everybody out there, go and give your kitchen knives a big hug.
Maybe be very careful with that one.
Right, yeah. Remember where the business end is.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Just give your kitchen knife a little smooch on the side.
There you go. That's good.
That's better.
That's better. Right. We'll see y'all in a couple weeks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I just want to reach out and touch someone. I just want